Have you ever felt a wave of relief wash over you and wondered how a simple feeling can make your whole body feel as light as a sigh? This evening, we are wrapping ourselves in the science of the soul, specifically, the most relaxing truths about our feelings. We often see our emotions as loud or heavy storms, but they are really just a soft flow of chemicals, millions of tiny, shimmering signals swaying in a delicate balance between the mind and the skin. From the light, airy joy that feels like smooth silk to the deep, warm calm of a long hug that brings the weight of a peaceful home, our feelings are the visible sign of the body's invisible care for itself. As we begin, imagine yourself resting in a field of soft, swaying grass, feeling as safe and as held as a child in a dream. You do not need to worry about the names of the hormones or the reasons for your worries tonight. Just let the slow, rhythmic pulse of your heart wash over you and tuck you in. Allow this blanket of soft science and steady kindness to be your guide as you move toward a deep and mindless rest. Now, take a slow, easy breath. Feel your chest rise and fall, as smooth and as sure as a low, humming wave. Let the heaviness of your day dissolve into the soft, velvet shadows of the evening. Release your jaw, let your shoulders slide down, and sink into the softness of your bed. Let's explore the quiet wonders of our feelings together. There is a wave inside you right now. It is small and quick, moving through the rivers of your body like a ripple across a still pond. This wave is made of chemicals, tiny messengers floating through your bloodstream, and it lasts for only 6 seconds. 6 seconds. That is all. Count them slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then the wave passes. The feeling you had a moment ago, whatever it was, has already begun to fade like morning mist under a gentle sun. Your body knows how to let things go. It was designed this way, built to feel and then to release over and over again, like the rhythm of breathing or the slow turn of the earth beneath your feet. These waves are not your enemies. They are not punishments or mistakes. They are messengers, arriving at your door with information, the way a bird might bring news from a distant place. Fear comes to tell you to look around, to notice what might need your attention, to keep you safe in a world that is sometimes sharp and unexpected. Joy arrives to show you what makes you feel alive, what fills your chest with light, what you might want to move toward again and again. Each feeling carries a letter written just for you, and when you open it and read the words inside, you learn something true about yourself and the moment you are living in. Scientists who have studied these waves for many years have found that there are 8 emotions that form the foundation of all the others, like primary colors that mix to create every shade you have ever seen. There is joy, bright and warm. There is sadness, slow and heavy. There is fear, sharp and alert. There is disgust, pushing away what does not serve you. There is surprise, sudden and wide-eyed. There is anticipation, leaning forward into what comes next. There is anger, hot and protective. And there is trust, soft and open, the feeling of safety with another soul. These 8 move through you in endless combinations, blending and separating, creating the full spectrum of your inner weather. And here is something remarkable. When you give a name to what you feel, when you pause and say quietly to yourself, "This is sadness," or "This is fear," or "This is joy," something changes inside your brain. Deep in the center of your skull, there is a small almond-shaped part called the amygdala. It is ancient, older than language, older than cities or songs. It watches for danger. It sounds alarms. But when you name your emotion, when you wrap language around the feeling, the amygdala grows quieter. The alarm softens. Naming is like turning on a light in a dark room. Suddenly you can see the shape of things. Suddenly you are not lost. You are simply here, feeling something that has a name, something that is known. You do not feel these things alone. There are other people in the world, billions of them, and inside their brains are tiny cells called mirror neurons. These neurons are like echoes. When you see someone smile, your mirror neurons fire as if you are smiling too. When you watch someone cry, something in you knows that feeling, remembers it, reflects it back. This is why emotions are contagious, why you can walk into a room and sense the mood without anyone saying a word. You are built to feel what others feel, to catch their joy like catching sunlight, to absorb their sorrow like rain soaking into soil. You are connected to every person you meet in ways you cannot see but can always sense, a web of feeling stretching between hearts. The more precisely you can name what you feel, the more power you have over it. This is called emotional granularity, and it is like the difference between seeing a blur of green and seeing a forest full of oak and pine and birch, each tree distinct and clear. Instead of saying, "I feel bad," you might say, "I feel disappointed," or "I feel lonely," or "I feel restless." Each word is a key that unlocks a different door. Each word gives you a map to navigate the landscape inside you. When you know exactly where you are, you know which direction to walk. You know what you need. You know how to take care of yourself with tenderness and precision. Now let us talk about your heart. You have always known it was important, but perhaps not in the way you think. Your heart does more than pump blood. It speaks. It sends signals up to your brain, electrical pulses traveling along invisible highways, and it sends more signals upward than your brain sends down. Your heart is talking to your mind all the time, telling it stories about how you feel, shaping your emotions from the inside out. When your heart beats in a steady, smooth rhythm, your brain receives a message of calm. This is called heart-brain coherence, and it is like two instruments playing in harmony, creating a song of peace that fills your entire body. There is a measurement called heart rate variability, and it tells you how resilient you are. It measures the tiny changes in the time between each heartbeat. You might think your heart beats like a metronome, perfectly even, but it does not. It dances. It shifts. It adapts. And the more it can vary, the more flexible it is, the faster you can recover from stress and return to calm. A heart that can change its rhythm easily is a heart that knows how to heal, how to bounce back, how to find its center again after being thrown off balance. Your heart is practicing resilience with every beat, teaching your whole body how to bend without breaking. There is a theory called polyvagal theory, and it explains something beautiful about connection. Deep in your body runs a nerve called the vagus nerve, wandering like a river from your brain down through your chest and belly, touching your heart and lungs and stomach along the way. This nerve has different pathways, different modes. One pathway is for danger, for shutting down or fighting or running away. But another pathway is for safety, for connection, for the feeling of being seen and held by another person. And here is the miraculous part. The fastest way to feel safe is not to think your way there or to wait for the danger to pass. The fastest way is to connect with another human being. A kind voice. A gentle touch. Eye contact that says, "I see you. You are not alone." Social connection flips a switch in your nervous system, telling your body, "You are safe now. You can rest." As people grow older, something shifts in the way they feel happiness. When you are young, Happiness often comes from excitement, from the thrill of something new, from the rush of adventure and noise and speed. But as the years pass and the hair turns silver and the hands grow steady and wise, happiness begins to arrive in quieter forms. It comes from peace, from a cup of tea in the afternoon light, from the sound of rain on the roof, from sitting in stillness and feeling grateful for the simple fact of being alive. Older people have learned that joy does not always need to shout. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it is found not in the heights of excitement but in the deep valleys of contentment, in the slow exhale, in the gentle acceptance of what is. All of this is happening inside you right now. Chemical waves rising and falling every 6 seconds. 8 emotions swirling and blending. Your amygdala quieting when you name what you feel. Mirror neurons connecting you to everyone around you. Your heart sending messages to your brain in a language older than words. Your nervous system learning over and over again that connection is safety, that you do not have to face the world alone. And somewhere in the future, if you are lucky enough to grow old, you will discover that the happiness you have been chasing might have been waiting all along in the stillness, in the peace, in the quiet morning light that asks nothing of you but to simply be here, breathing, feeling, alive. This is what it means to be human. This is the gift of your body, your heart, your ever-changing, ever-healing self. When you feel love, when you feel gratitude, when you feel any of those soft and golden emotions that make the world seem kinder, something extraordinary happens inside your chest. Your heart begins to beat in a pattern that is smooth and coherent, like waves rolling onto a shore in perfect rhythm. This is not poetry. This is measurable. Scientists can see it on screens, can watch the lines curve and flow in beautiful, harmonious shapes. And when your heart beats this way, when it finds this rhythm, it sends calming signals up to your brain, helping you regulate every other feeling that moves through you. Your heart becomes a tuning fork, setting the tone for your entire emotional world, and love is one of the frequencies that brings everything into alignment. There is something you can do right now, something so simple it almost seems like magic. You can smile. It does not matter if you mean it. It does not matter if you feel happy or sad or somewhere lost in between. Just lift the corners of your mouth. Feel your cheeks rise. Hold it there for a moment. What happens next is that your brain receives a message from the muscles in your face, and that message says, something good is happening. Your brain believes your face. It trusts the signals coming from your body, and so it begins to shift your mood, just a little, just enough to let in a sliver of light. A smile is a kind of language your body speaks to itself, a way of saying, maybe things are okay. Maybe I am safe. Maybe there is still room for joy. And if you can laugh, if you can find something that makes you shake with it, that pulls the sound up from deep in your belly, then you are giving yourself medicine. Laughter is not just a response to something funny. It is a reset button. When you laugh, your body releases endorphins, those natural chemicals that ease pain and create a sense of well-being, the same chemicals that flow through you after a long run or a moment of deep peace. At the same time, laughter lowers cortisol, the hormone that rises when you are stressed, when you are worried, when the world feels too heavy. So laughter lightens the load. It tells your body that right now, in this moment, you are allowed to let go, to stop bracing, to soften. Touch is another kind of language. When someone hugs you, when you feel arms around your shoulders and warmth against your chest, your body releases oxytocin. This hormone is sometimes called the love hormone or the bonding hormone, and it washes through you like a gentle tide, bringing calm and connection. Oxytocin tells your nervous system that you are not alone, that you are held, that you belong to someone and someone belongs to you. It lowers your heart rate. It eases anxiety. It builds trust between you and the person whose skin is touching yours. A hug is not just a gesture. It is a conversation between two nervous systems, each one saying to the other, "I am here. You are safe with me." Even without touch, you can create this feeling. All it takes is eye contact. When you look into another person's eyes and they look back into yours, oxytocin surges in both of you. There is something ancient and powerful in this exchange, something that reaches back to the very beginning of human connection, to mothers and infants, to lovers and friends, to anyone who has ever needed to know that they matter to someone else. Eye contact is a bridge. It is a recognition. It says, "I see you. You are real. You are here with me." And in that moment, your body relaxes. Your heart opens. You feel a little less afraid of the world. When you feel compassion for another person, when you see their suffering and your heart aches in response, your body responds with kindness too. Cortisol, that stress hormone, begins to drop. Your heart rate slows. Your breathing deepens. Compassion is not just an emotion. It is a physical state, a way your body enters into healing mode, a way you become softer and more open and less defended. And here is the remarkable part. You can turn that compassion inward. You can offer it to yourself. When you make a mistake, when you feel shame or regret or the weight of your own imperfection, you can speak to yourself the way you would speak to a dear friend. You can say, "It is okay. You are human. You are doing your best." This is called self-compassion, and it breaks the cycle of shame that keeps your stress hormones high and your heart closed. Self-compassion is a radical act of care, a way of holding yourself gently in the palm of your own hand. There are moments in life when you feel something so big it makes you small. You stand at the edge of the ocean and watch the waves stretch out to the horizon. You look up at the night sky and see more stars than you can count. You witness an act of unexpected kindness or hear a piece of music that seems to open a door in your chest. This feeling is called awe, and it is one of the most powerful emotional experiences you can have. Awe makes your problems feel smaller. It shifts your perspective, lifting you out of your own narrow concerns and placing you in a much larger story. When you feel awe, your stress levels drop. The things that were bothering you a moment ago seem less urgent, less overwhelming. Awe reminds you that you are part of something vast and beautiful, and that reminder is enough to let you breathe a little easier. Sometimes the feelings that comfort you most are the ones that come from the past. Nostalgia is a soft, bittersweet emotion, a longing for a time that has already passed, for people you used to know, for a version of yourself you used to be. It might seem like nostalgia would make you sad, but it does not. Instead, it wraps around you like a blanket. It reminds you of where you have been, of the love you have known, of the moments that made you who you are. Nostalgia is a gentle emotional hug, a way of soothing yourself by remembering that you have survived before, that you have been happy before, that you have been held and loved and seen. It is a bridge between who you were and who you are, and walking across that bridge feels like coming home. Music has a special power to carry you back. When you hear a song from your childhood, or from a summer when you were young and the world felt full of possibility, something lights up inside your brain. The reward centers activate, the same parts that respond to food or warmth or love. The melody becomes a key that unlocks memories and feelings you had almost forgotten. You remember the way the light looked through the trees. You remember the voice of someone you loved. You remember what it felt like to be that version of yourself, and for a few minutes you are both people at once, the one you were and the one you are now, and somehow that makes you feel more whole. Nostalgic music is emotional comfort made of sound, a way of reaching back through time and finding the parts of yourself that still need to be held. All of these things, smiling and laughing and hugging, looking into someone's eyes, feeling compassion for yourself and others, standing in or remembering the past through music, all of these are ways your body knows how to heal itself. They are not complicated. They do not require special equipment or training. They are simple, human, available to you in almost any moment. Your body is wiser than you think. It knows that a smile can shift your brain chemistry. It knows that a hug can lower your heart rate. It knows that connection is medicine, that or is a balm, that remembering who you have been can help you accept who you are. You are carrying all of this inside you right now, all of these tools, all of these pathways back to calm and comfort and peace. So when the world feels heavy, when your emotions feel too big or too tangled or too sharp, remember that you have options. You can smile, even if it feels strange at first. You can find something to laugh about, even something small and silly. You can reach out and touch someone you trust, or ask them to hold you for a moment. You can look into their eyes and let yourself be seen. You can think of someone who is struggling and send them a wish for peace, and then turn that same wish toward yourself. You can step outside and look up at the sky, or watch the way light moves through leaves, or listen to a piece of music that reminds you of a time when things were simpler. All of these are ways of taking care of the tender, feeling, endlessly resilient being that you are. All of these are ways of coming home to yourself over and over again, as many times as you need. There is a place inside your brain that remembers the wild. It remembers forests and rivers and wide open skies, even if you have spent most of your life surrounded by walls and streets and the hum of machines. This part of you is ancient. It was shaped over thousands of years when your ancestors lived close to the earth, when survival meant knowing the land, reading the weather, finding water and shelter under the branches of trees. And so when you see nature now, even if it is only a photograph on a screen, even if it is just a picture of mountains or meadows or a single green leaf catching sunlight, something in you relaxes. Your brain recognizes safety. Your stress hormones begin to drop. Your breathing slows. You are looking at an image, but your body believes you are home. If you can walk into an actual forest, if you can step between the trees and let the air fill your lungs with the scent of moss and bark and soil, you are doing something the Japanese call forest bathing. You are immersing yourself in the presence of the woods, not to hike or exercise or reach a destination, but simply to be there, to let the forest wash over you. And when you do this, your brain releases serotonin, the chemical that helps stabilize your mood, that lifts the fog of sadness, that makes the world feel a little more bearable. The forest gives you this gift just for showing up, just for standing still and breathing and noticing the way light filters down through the canopy in long, golden shafts. At night, if you can find a place where the lights are dim and the sky is clear, you can look up at the stars. You can see them scattered across the darkness like salt spilled on black cloth, more stars than you could ever count, some of them so far away their light has been traveling for millions of years just to reach your eyes. This is called stargazing, and it does something profound to your sense of self. When you look up at that vastness, when you try to comprehend the distance and the age and the sheer number of worlds spinning out there in the silence, your own problems begin to seem smaller. The boundaries of yourself, the tight grip of your worries and fears and stress, all of it starts to dissolve. You become aware that you are a tiny part of something unimaginably large, and somehow that awareness brings relief. You are not carrying the weight of the universe. You are just one small person under a sky full of ancient light, and that is enough. Even looking at the sky during the day can shift something inside you. When you tilt your head back and gaze up at the blue or the clouds or the endless stretch of atmosphere, your ego boundaries soften. The sense of separation between you and the world becomes less solid. You feel yourself expanding, or perhaps dissolving, into something larger and more spacious. This is not a metaphor. It is an experience you can have right now if you let yourself. The sky is so vast, so open, so free of edges and definitions, that looking at it invites your emotions to spread out too, to stop being so tight and contained and instead to drift and float and fill the space around you. If you live near the ocean or if you have ever visited one, you know the sound of waves. That slow, rhythmic crash and hiss, the way the water rushes up the sand and then pulls back over and over, never stopping, never hurrying. This sound does something specific to your brain. It entrains your brain waves, guiding them into a state called theta, the same state you enter just before sleep or during deep meditation. Theta is where your mind becomes quiet and dreamy. It is where worry fades and something softer takes its place. The ocean is teaching your brain how to relax, using nothing but rhythm and repetition, the oldest lullaby in the world. There are places on Earth where water falls not from cliffs into pools but from the ocean floor down into deeper trenches, underwater waterfalls that you cannot see from the surface but that exist in the cold, dark depths. These waterfalls mimic the same rhythmic, sensory patterns that calm your nervous system, even though you will likely never witness them in person. There is something about the idea of them, about water falling in the darkness where no one is watching, following its pattern without pause or hesitation, that feels like a metaphor for the way your own nervous system wants to work. It wants rhythm. It wants repetition. It wants the safety of something predictable and steady, and when it finds that, it calms down. It stops searching for danger. It rests. You can lie on your back in the grass or sit in a chair and look up at the clouds. You can watch them drift across the sky, changing shape, moving so slowly you can barely see it happening until suddenly one cloud has become another, has stretched or thinned or disappeared entirely. Cloud watching is an invitation to let your mind drift too, to stop trying to control your thoughts or direct your attention and instead to simply let yourself float along with the shapes above you. This is a kind of surrender, but it is not a frightening one. It is effortless. It is gentle. It is letting go without having to work at it, without having to be strong or disciplined or determined. You are just watching clouds, and in that watching, something tight inside you starts to unwind. Color affects you more than you realize. Blue, in particular, has a power to calm. When you see blue, whether it is the blue of the sky or the ocean or a painted wall or a piece of fabric, your brain associates it with openness and tranquility. Blue is the color of things that stretch far away, things that are vast and safe and unchanging. It is the color of distance, of perspective, of breathing room. Your nervous system reads blue as a signal that you can relax, that there is no immediate threat, that you have space to simply be. There is a place inside your brain that remembers the wild. It remembers forests and rivers and wide open skies, even if you have spent most of your life surrounded by walls and streets and the hum of machines. This part of you is ancient. It was shaped over thousands of years when your ancestors lived close to the earth, when survival meant knowing the land, reading the weather, finding water and shelter under the branches of trees. And so when you see nature now, even if it is only a photograph on a screen, even if it is just a picture of mountains or meadows or a single green leaf catching sunlight, something in you relaxes. Your brain recognizes safety. Your stress hormones begin to drop. Your breathing slows. You are looking at an image, but your body believes you are home. If you can walk into an actual forest, if you can step between the trees and let the air fill your lungs with the scent of moss and bark and soil, you are doing something the Japanese call forest bathing. You are immersing yourself in the presence of the woods, not to hike or exercise or reach a destination, but simply to be there, to let the forest wash over you. And when you do this, your brain releases serotonin, the chemical that helps stabilize your mood, that lifts the fog of sadness, that makes the world feel a little more bearable. The forest gives you this gift just for showing up, just for standing still and breathing and noticing the way light filters down through the canopy in long, golden shafts. At night, if you can find a place where the lights are dim and the sky is clear, you can look up at the stars. You can see them scattered across the darkness like salt spilled on black cloth, more stars than you could ever count, some of them so far away their light has been traveling for millions of years just to reach your eyes. This is called stargazing, and it does something profound to your sense of self. When you look up at that vastness, when you try to comprehend the distance and the age and the sheer number of worlds spinning out there in the silence, your own problems begin to seem smaller. The boundaries of yourself, the tight grip of your worries and fears and stress, all of it starts to dissolve. You become aware that you are a tiny part of something unimaginably large, and somehow that awareness brings relief. You are not carrying the weight of the universe. You are just one small person under a sky full of ancient light, and that is enough. Even looking at the sky during the day can shift something inside you. When you tilt your head back and gaze up at the blue or the clouds or the endless stretch of atmosphere, your ego boundaries soften. The sense of separation between you and the world becomes less solid. You feel yourself expanding, or perhaps dissolving, into something larger and more spacious. This is not a metaphor. It is an experience you can have right now if you let yourself. The sky is so vast, so open, so free of edges and definitions, that looking at it invites your emotions to spread out too, to stop being so tight and contained and instead to drift and float and fill the space around you. If you live near the ocean or if you have ever visited one, you know the sound of waves. That slow, rhythmic crash and hiss, the way the water rushes up the sand and then pulls back over and over, never stopping, never hurrying. This sound does something specific to your brain. It entrains your brain waves, guiding them into a state called theta, the same state you enter just before sleep or during deep meditation. Theta is where your mind becomes quiet and dreamy. It is where worry fades and something softer takes its place. The ocean is teaching your brain how to relax, using nothing but rhythm and repetition, the oldest lullaby in the world. There are places on Earth where water falls not from cliffs into pools but from the ocean floor down into deeper trenches, underwater waterfalls that you cannot see from the surface but that exist in the cold, dark depths. These waterfalls mimic the same rhythmic, sensory patterns that calm your nervous system, even though you will likely never witness them in person. There is something about the idea of them, about water falling in the darkness where no one is watching, following its pattern without pause or hesitation, that feels like a metaphor for the way your own nervous system wants to work. It wants rhythm. It wants repetition. It wants the safety of something predictable and steady, and when it finds that, it calms down. It stops searching for danger. It rests. You can lie on your back in the grass or sit in a chair and look up at the clouds. You can watch them drift across the sky, changing shape, moving so slowly you can barely see it happening until suddenly one cloud has become another, has stretched or thinned or disappeared entirely. Cloud watching is an invitation to let your mind drift too, to stop trying to control your thoughts or direct your attention and instead to simply let yourself float along with the shapes above you. This is a kind of surrender, but it is not a frightening one. It is effortless. It is gentle. It is letting go without having to work at it, without having to be strong or disciplined or determined. You are just watching clouds, and in that watching, something tight inside you starts to unwind. Color affects you more than you realize. Blue, in particular, has a power to calm. When you see blue, whether it is the blue of the sky or the ocean or a painted wall or a piece of fabric, your brain associates it with openness and tranquility. Blue is the color of things that stretch far away, things that are vast and safe and unchanging. It is the color of distance, of perspective, of breathing room. Your nervous system reads blue as a signal that you can relax, that there is no immediate threat, that you have space to simply be. If you take a pen or a pencil or a crayon and begin to color inside the lines of a mandala, one of those circular, symmetrical patterns that repeat and radiate from a center point, you are doing something that quiets the fear center of your brain. The amygdala, which spends so much of its time scanning for danger, begins to settle down. The repetitive, focused action of coloring, the way you have to pay attention but not think too hard, the way the pattern unfolds under your hand, all of this creates a state of calm concentration. You are not solving a problem. You are not trying to create something original or impressive. You are simply filling in shapes, following lines, and in that simple act, your emotional reactivity softens. Your defenses lower. You become a little less afraid. Even the clothes you wear can speak to your nervous system. When you put on something soft, something made of fabric that feels gentle against your skin, cotton or fleece or worn linen that has been washed 100 times, your tactile emotional brain centers receive a message of safety. Softness means you are not in danger. Softness means you are allowed to be tender, to be vulnerable, to let your guard down. Hard, scratchy, stiff fabrics keep you a little more alert, a little more defended. But softness says, you can rest now. You can be gentle with yourself. It is a small thing, choosing what touches your skin, but your body notices. Your body always notices. All of these things, the sight of green leaves, the smell of the forest, the sound of waves, the color blue, the act of coloring or cloud watching or wearing something soft, all of these are ways the world reaches in and soothes you. You do not have to earn them. You do not have to be perfect or healed or already calm to deserve them. They are always available, always waiting, always ready to meet you exactly where you are. Nature knows how to comfort you. Your senses know how to guide you back to peace. And you, with your tender human heart and your wise animal body, you know how to receive these gifts, how to let them in, how to let them change you from the inside out, one breath, one color, one moment of sky at a time. Music is not just something you hear. It is something that enters your body and changes it from the inside. When sound waves move through the air and reach your ears, they do not stop there. They travel deeper. They become electrical signals that move through your brain, and as they move, they alter the very rhythm of your thoughts. Your brain waves, those tiny pulses of electricity that flow between neurons begin to shift their pattern, slowing down or speeding up to match the tempo and tone of what you are hearing. When the music is gentle, when it is slow and soft and filled with space, your brain waves slow too, drifting from the fast, anxious beta waves of stress down into the calmer alpha waves of relaxation. Music becomes a guide, leading your nervous system away from fear and toward peace, note by note, measure by measure, until you realize you are breathing differently, thinking differently, feeling differently than you were just moments before. There is a specific kind of sound called binaural beats, and it works in a way that seems almost like magic but is actually pure physics. When you listen through headphones and one ear receives a tone at one frequency while the other ear receives a slightly different frequency, your brain does something remarkable. It creates a third tone, a phantom beat that exists only in your mind, and this beat is the difference between the two frequencies. If one ear hears a tone at 200 vibrations per second and the other hears 210, your brain generates a beat at 10 vibrations per second. And here is what matters. Your brain then begins to synchronize with that beat. The two hemispheres of your brain, the left and the right, start to work together in harmony, firing in rhythm with the sound that does not actually exist in the world but only in the space between your ears. This synchronization brings emotional harmony too. The parts of you that feel scattered or divided begin to come together. You feel more whole, more balanced, more at ease. For people who have experienced trauma, for those whose nervous systems have been shaken by events too overwhelming to process, there is a kind of music therapy called bilateral music listening. It involves sound moving back and forth between the left and right ears, a gentle oscillation that mirrors the way your eyes move during REM sleep, the time when your brain processes memories and emotions. This back and forth pattern helps calm the responses that trauma has written into the body. It tells the nervous system that the danger has passed, that it is safe to let go of the vigilance, the hyperarousal, the constant scanning for threat. The music becomes a bridge between the past and the present, helping the body understand that it is here now, that it survived, that it can finally rest. In some traditions, people use instruments that seem almost alive, instruments that hum and sing and vibrate in ways that touch you not just through your ears but through your whole body. Tibetan singing bowls are one such instrument. They are made of metal, shaped like wide, shallow cups, and when you strike them or run a mallet around their rim, they produce a sound that is rich and complex, filled with layers of tone that seem to shimmer and shift. This is called acoustic resonance, and it creates vibrations that move through the air and into your chest, your belly, your bones. These vibrations harmonize with your own emotional frequencies, the subtle energies that flow through you, and they bring them into alignment. It is as if the bowl is tuning you the way you might tune a guitar, adjusting the strings of your nervous system until they ring clear and true. Centuries ago, monks in monasteries across Europe would gather in stone chapels and sing together in a style called Gregorian chant. These chants have no instruments, no harmony in the modern sense, just voices moving together in unison, rising and falling in long, flowing phrases that seem to have no beginning and no end. The frequencies of these chants are very low, slower than normal speech, and when people sing them or listen to them, something extraordinary happens to the heart. The heart rhythm begins to entrain, to synchronize, with these ultra-low frequencies, dropping into a state of profound tranquility. The heart slows. The breath deepens. Time itself seems to stretch and soften, and you enter a space that feels almost timeless, almost sacred, a place where worry cannot follow because there is only the sound, only the breath, only the slow, steady beating of your heart matching the ancient rhythm of voices that have been singing this same song for 1,000 years. Within those chants, within any kind of sustained singing or toning, there are harmonic overtones, frequencies that ring out above the fundamental note like ghosts or echoes. You might not consciously hear them, but your brain registers them, and they have a specific effect. They shift your brain waves from the fast beta state of stress and active thinking down into the slower alpha state of peace and presence. Alpha waves are what you produce when you close your eyes and relax, when you daydream, when you let your mind wander without trying to control it. Harmonic overtones are like a key that unlocks this state, allowing you to drop out of the anxious, overthinking mind and into something quieter, something that feels like coming home to yourself. When you sing, when you let your voice rise up from your chest and move through your throat and out into the world, you are doing more than making sound. You are vibrating the vagus nerve, that long, wandering nerve that runs from your brainstem down through your neck and chest and into your abdomen. The vagus nerve is part of your parasympathetic nervous system, the system responsible for rest and digestion and healing. When it is activated, when it is stimulated by the vibrations of your own voice, it sends signals throughout your body that say, you are safe. You can relax. You can let go. Singing is a form of self-soothing, a way of literally vibrating yourself into a state of calm. It does not matter if you sing well or if anyone is listening. What matters is the feeling of the sound moving through you, the way it massages your nervous system from the inside, the way it reminds your body that it knows how to create beauty, how to create comfort, how to take care of itself. You can achieve a similar effect with whispered affirmations, soft words spoken so quietly they are almost just breath. When you whisper kind things to yourself, when you say, I am safe, or I am enough, or I am loved, in a voice barely louder than a sigh, those whispers create gentle vibrations in your throat and chest. These vibrations also stimulate the vagus nerve, but they do it in a way that feels secret and intimate, like a lullaby you are singing to the frightened child inside you. The words enter your subconscious not through force or repetition, but through tenderness, through the physical sensation of your own voice touching you from within. Whispered affirmations are a way of speaking to yourself with compassion, with softness, with the understanding that sometimes the most powerful words are the ones spoken most gently. There is a practice called laughter yoga, and it is exactly what it sounds like. People gather in groups and they begin to laugh, not because anything is funny, but simply because they choose to. At first it feels strange, forced, awkward. But then something shifts. The fake laughter becomes real laughter. The sound bounces between people, infectious and joyful, and soon everyone is breathing together, their bodies moving in rhythm, their nervous systems synchronizing. This synchronized group breathing amplifies the emotional calm that laughter creates. It is as if the group becomes one organism, one set of lungs, one heart beating with shared joy. The collective experience is more powerful than laughing alone. It reminds you that you are part of something larger, that your happiness can feed others and theirs can feed you, that joy is not something you have to create in isolation but something you can generate together, simply by choosing to breathe and laugh and be present with one another. And then there is knitting, or crocheting, or any kind of rhythmic handwork that involves repeating the same motion over and over. You might think this is just a hobby, just a way to pass time or make something useful, but it is more than that. When your hands move in a steady, predictable pattern, when the needles click and the yarn slides through your fingers and the stitches build one after another, you are creating a rhythm that your nervous system recognizes. It is the rhythm of a mother's heartbeat, the sound and feeling that surrounded you before you were born, when you floated in darkness and safety and everything you needed was provided without you having to ask. Knitting mimics that primal comfort. It tells your body that you are cared for, that you are safe, that the world is predictable and gentle and you do not have to be on guard. Each stitch is a small act of creation, yes, but it is also a small act of self-soothing, a way of rocking yourself gently through the minutes and hours, building not just a scarf or a blanket but a sense of peace, one loop of yarn at a time. All of these practices, listening to music that changes your brain waves, using binaural beats to synchronize your mind, processing trauma through bilateral sound, feeling the vibrations of singing bowls or Gregorian chants, singing or whispering to activate your vagus nerve, laughing together in rhythm, knitting a pattern that echoes your earliest sense of safety, all of these are ways of using sound and rhythm and repetition to heal yourself. They are not complicated. They do not require special training or expensive equipment. They are simple, human, accessible. They work because your body is not separate from the world of vibration and frequency and rhythm. You are made of these things. Your heart beats. Your lungs expand and contract. Your brain pulses with electricity. You are already a song, already a rhythm, already a pattern unfolding in time. And when you feel lost or overwhelmed or disconnected from yourself, you can return to these practices. You can put on music that soothes you. You can listen to tones that synchronize your brain. You can hum or sing or whisper kindness to yourself. You can sit with a group and laugh for no reason at all. You can pick up needles and yarn and let your hands remember the rhythm of being held. These are not escapes from your emotions. They are ways of moving through them, ways of letting them flow and shift and eventually settle. They are ways of remembering that you are not broken, that your nervous system knows how to heal, that your body carries within it the tools for its own comfort and peace. The world is full of sounds and rhythms and patterns, and you can choose which ones to invite into your life. You can surround yourself with frequencies that calm rather than agitate, with rhythms that soothe rather than jar, with patterns that remind you of safety rather than chaos. And in making these choices, small as they may seem, you are shaping your inner world. You are teaching your nervous system what peace feels like. You are creating conditions where healing can happen not because you are forcing it or fighting for it, but because you are gently, consistently, kindly offering yourself the sounds and rhythms and patterns that help you remember who you really are beneath all the stress and fear and worry. You are being designed for harmony, for resonance, for the kind of deep, embodied calm that comes when everything inside you is vibrating at the frequency of home. There is a way to calm yourself that is so simple, so immediate, so powerful that it seems almost too easy to be true. And yet it works every single time, without fail, without special tools or training or preparation. All you need to do is breathe deeply. When you take a slow, full breath down into the bottom of your lungs, filling your belly and expanding your ribs and letting the air travel all the way to the places it usually does not reach, you activate the vagus nerve. That wandering nerve that touches your heart and your lungs and your stomach, that nerve that runs like a river through the center of your body, it wakes up when you breathe this way. It sends signals racing through your nervous system, signals that say, everything is okay. There is no emergency. You can rest now. And just like that, in the space of one breath, your body begins to shift out of fight or flight and into a state of calm. Your heart rate slows. Your blood pressure drops. The tension in your muscles starts to release. One breath. That is all it takes to begin the process of coming back to yourself, of stepping out of panic and into presence. There are specific breathing patterns that people have discovered and studied and refined, patterns that work with the natural rhythms of your body to create even deeper states of calm. One of these is called 478 breathing, and it is as simple as its name suggests. You breathe in through your nose for a count of 4. You hold that breath for a count of 7. And then you exhale slowly through your mouth for a count of 8. The key is in the exhale, in making it longer than the inhale. When your exhale is extended, when you let the air out slowly and completely, you activate what is called parasympathetic dominance. This is the state where your parasympathetic nervous system, the system responsible for rest and healing and digestion, takes over from your sympathetic nervous system, the one that keeps you alert and ready to run or fight. The long exhale is a signal, a message sent from your breath to your brain that says, "We are safe. We can afford to slow down. We can afford to let go." And your body listens. It believes you. It follows the pattern you are creating with your breath, and it shifts into a mode of deep, restorative calm. There is another pattern called box breathing, and it is used by Navy SEALs, people who train to stay calm in the most dangerous and stressful situations imaginable. The pattern is perfectly symmetrical, like the 4 sides of a box. You breathe in for 4 counts. You hold for 4 counts. You breathe out for 4 counts. You hold empty for 4 counts. And then you begin again. 4 4 4 4, over and over, creating a rhythm that is steady and predictable and grounding. This pattern is especially useful when your emotions have been hijacked, when fear or anger or panic has taken over and you cannot think clearly, cannot remember who you are or what you know to be true. Box breathing resets the system. It interrupts the cascade of stress hormones and racing thoughts and brings you back to baseline, back to a place where you can think and choose and respond instead of just react. It is an anchor, a way of holding steady when everything else is spinning out of control. Coherence breathing is another pattern, and this one is about finding the optimal rhythm for your heart and your emotions to synchronize. The pattern is simple. Breathe in for 5 seconds, breathe out for 5 seconds. This gives you 6 breaths per minute, or sometimes people aim for 5 breaths per minute by breathing in for 6 seconds and out for 6 seconds. Either way, this slow, even rhythm creates what is called heart-brain coherence. Your heart rate variability becomes smooth and regular. Your heart and your brain begin to communicate in harmony, sending signals back and forth that reinforce a state of emotional balance and well-being. When you breathe at this pace, you are not forcing anything. You are simply allowing your body to find its natural rhythm, the rhythm it wants to be in when it feels safe and connected and whole. Coherence breathing is like tuning an instrument. It brings all the parts of you into alignment so that you can function as one integrated system instead of a collection of competing impulses and reactions. Sometimes you do not even need a formal breathing pattern. Sometimes all you need is to sigh. You know this feeling already. You have done it 1,000 times without thinking about it. You take in a breath, maybe not even a particularly deep one, and then you let it out with a sound, a long, audible exhale that seems to carry something heavy out of your body and into the air. Sighing is not a sign of weakness or resignation. It is your autonomic nervous system's way of resetting itself. When you have been holding tension, when you have been breathing shallowly or holding your breath without realizing it, pressure builds up in your system. A sigh releases that pressure. It prevents emotional overload. It is like opening a valve and letting steam escape before the pot boils over. You do not have to decide to sigh. Your body knows when it needs to, and if you pay attention, if you let yourself sigh when the urge arises instead of suppressing it, you will feel the relief immediately. You will feel the weight lift, just a little, just enough. You can also stimulate the vagus nerve through sound. When you hum, when you let a low, sustained note vibrate in your throat and chest, you are creating a gentle massage for that wandering nerve. The vibrations travel through the tissues of your neck and activate the vagus nerve directly, and this activation triggers an instant parasympathetic response. Your body drops into calm almost immediately. Humming is something you can do anywhere, anytime, without anyone even noticing. You can hum while you wait in line, while you sit in traffic, while you lie in bed unable to sleep. You can hum a favorite tune or just a single note, whatever feels good, whatever feels soothing. The specific pitch does not matter. What matters is the vibration, the feeling of it resonating through you, the way it reaches into the center of your nervous system and says, slow down, soften, let go. There is an ancient breathing technique called alternate nostril breathing, and it comes from traditions that understood long before modern science that the two sides of your brain are connected to the two sides of your body in specific and meaningful ways. To practice this, you use your fingers to gently close one nostril while you breathe in through the other, then you switch, closing the opposite nostril and breathing out through the first. You continue this pattern, alternating back and forth, breathing in through the left, out through the right, in through the right, out through the left. This practice balances the left and right hemispheres of your brain, the logical and the creative, the analytical and the intuitive, the parts of you that process emotion in different ways. When the two hemispheres are balanced, when they are working together in harmony, your emotional experience becomes more stable, less likely to swing to extremes. You feel more centered, more able to hold complexity, more capable of seeing situations from multiple perspectives instead of getting locked into one narrow view. Some breathing patterns are designed to mimic the natural rhythms of the world around you. Spiral breathing is one of these. Instead of breathing in a simple in and out pattern, you imagine your breath moving in a spiral, curling up through your body as you inhale, spiraling down as you exhale, following the same kind of pattern you might see in a nautilus shell or in the way water swirls down a drain or in the vast spiral arms of galaxies spinning through space. This pattern mimics the rhythms of the ocean, the way waves curl and break and recede, the way currents flow in great circular patterns across the planet. When you breathe in spirals, you are aligning yourself with these natural rhythms, and your mind recognizes them at a deep, instinctive level. It pacifies the thinking mind, the part of you that wants to analyze and control and figure everything out. It invites you into a more fluid, effortless state, a state where you can simply flow with what is instead of fighting against it. Even yawning, that thing you do when you are tired or bored or just waking up, is a tool your body uses to regulate itself. When you yawn, you open your mouth wide and take in a large amount of air, and this cools the brain. Your brain generates a lot of heat when it is working hard, when you are stressed or processing intense emotions, and that heat can become uncomfortable, can contribute to a feeling of being overwhelmed or overheated emotionally. A yawn dissipates that heat. It brings in cool air, increases blood flow, and helps restore your brain to a temperature where it can function optimally. So when you feel the urge to yawn, let it happen. Stretch your jaw wide. Let the yawn be big and loud and unrestrained. Feel the relief that comes afterward, the sense of clarity, the way your mind feels just a little bit clearer, a little bit calmer, a little bit more able to handle whatever comes next. There is one more simple practice, one that combines breath and touch in a way that is profoundly soothing. Place your hand on your heart. Feel the warmth of your palm against your chest. Feel the gentle rise and fall as you breathe. And now, as you breathe, try to synchronize your breathing with your heartbeat. You can feel your heart beating beneath your hand. Breathe in time with it. Let your breath and your heartbeat become one rhythm, one pattern, one song playing through your body. This is called heart-hand coherence, and it creates a feedback loop of calm. Your hand on your heart tells your nervous system that you are caring for yourself, that you are paying attention, that you are here. Your synchronized breathing tells your heart and your brain to work together, to communicate clearly, to support each other. And in that moment of coherence, everything settles. The noise quiets. The chaos calms. You are simply here, breathing, feeling, alive, held by your own hand and your own breath. All of these breathing practices, deep belly breaths and 4-7-8 and box breathing and coherence breathing, sighing and humming and alternating nostrils, spiral breathing and yawning and hand on heart, all of these are ways of taking control of the one thing you can always control, which is your breath. You cannot control what happens to you. You cannot control other people or the world or the 1,000 unexpected things that arise each day. But you can always come back to your breath. You can always slow it down, deepen it, shape it into a pattern that serves you. Your breath is the bridge between your conscious mind and your unconscious body. It is the one function that operates automatically but that you can also direct with intention. And that makes it the most powerful tool you have for regulating your emotions, for calming your nervous system, for bringing yourself back to center when everything else feels out of control. The beautiful thing is that your breath is always with you. You do not have to remember to bring it. You do not have to charge it or update it or make sure you packed it. It is here, right now, moving in and out of your lungs, keeping you alive, and waiting patiently for you to notice it, to work with it, to let it guide you back to the calm that is always available beneath the surface of your busy, worried, wonderful mind. Every breath is an opportunity. Every breath is a choice. Every breath is a chance to begin again, to reset, to return to the quiet, steady, unshakable truth that you are okay, that you are here, that you are breathing, and that as long as you are breathing, you have everything you need to find your way back to peace. There is something ancient and wordless that happens when you reach out and touch an animal, when you run your hand along the soft fur of a dog or cat, when you feel the warmth of their body and the steady rhythm of their breathing. In that moment, your body responds in ways you might not even notice consciously. Your blood pressure begins to drop. Your heart rate slows. The tension you have been carrying in your shoulders and your jaw and the back of your neck starts to soften. This is not imagination. This is measurable, physical change. The animal does not have to do anything special. It does not have to perform tricks or understand your problems. It simply has to be there, warm and alive and present, allowing you to touch it, and that touch is enough. Your nervous system recognizes the presence of another living being, one that is calm and trusting, and it takes this as a signal that you too can be calm, that you too can trust, that the world is safe enough for you to let your guard down and simply rest your hand on soft fur and breathe. Water has always been a source of comfort for human beings. We are born in water, floating in the darkness of the womb, surrounded by warmth and safety. And so when you sink into a warm bath, when the water rises around your body and holds you in its gentle pressure, something in your brain recognizes this. The warmth mimics the temperature changes that your body associates with safety, with being cared for, with having your needs met. Your muscles relax. Your breathing deepens. The boundary between your body and the water becomes soft and blurred, and you feel yourself melting into the warmth, letting it dissolve the hardness you have been carrying, the armor you have built up over the course of the day or the week or the years. A warm bath is a return to the beginning, a temporary retreat back into the safety of being held and warm and allowed to simply float without effort or responsibility. But sometimes what you need is not warmth but cold, not softness but a sharp, clear sensation that cuts through the fog of overwhelming emotion. When you hold your wrists under cold running water, when you let the coldness shock your skin, something specific happens in your body. The blood vessels near the surface constrict. Blood flow to the periphery decreases. And this has the effect of cooling what people sometimes call emotional heat, that feeling of being too hot, too agitated, too close to boiling over. The cold water is like a reset button. It interrupts the cascade of physiological arousal that accompanies intense emotion. It brings you back into your body, back into the present moment, back into a state where you can think and choose instead of just being swept away by the intensity of what you feel. You can take this even further by holding ice cubes in your hands. The sensation is strong, almost uncomfortable, impossible to ignore. And that is exactly the point. When you are drowning in emotion, when your thoughts are spinning and your heart is racing and you feel like you might be pulled under by the weight of what you feel, the ice gives you something concrete to focus on. It shifts your attention from the emotional pain to physical sensation, and this shift is grounding. It reminds you that you have a body, that you exist in physical space, that you are not just your thoughts and feelings but a solid, real person with skin and nerves and the ability to feel the sharp bite of cold against your palm. The ice does not make the emotion disappear, but it gives you a foothold, a place to stand while the wave passes over you. Your feet carry you through the world, and they also carry within them a map of your entire body. In reflexology, different points on the feet correspond to different organs and systems, including the emotional centers in your brain. When you massage your feet, when you press your thumbs into the arch or squeeze the ball of your foot or work your fingers along the edges, you are stimulating these reflex points. You are sending signals up through your nervous system to the parts of your brain that process emotion, that regulate mood, that determine whether you feel calm or anxious, happy or sad. A foot massage is not just a luxury or an indulgence. It is a way of communicating with your own nervous system, of telling it through touch that you are worthy of care, that you deserve to feel good, that you can soothe yourself with your own hands. Even smaller, more specific touches can have profound effects. If you take your fingers and gently massage your earlobes, squeezing and rolling them between your thumb and forefinger, you are stimulating branches of the vagus nerve that run through this part of your body. The vagus nerve, as you know, is the master regulator of your parasympathetic nervous system, and when you activate it, you trigger a cascade of relaxation that spreads through your entire body. Your heart rate slows. Your breathing deepens. Tension releases from muscles you did not even know were tight. This is full-body emotional release triggered by something as simple as touching your ears, by giving yourself a few moments of gentle, focused attention. You can place your palms on your cheeks, covering the soft skin of your face with the warmth of your hands, and this too creates a shift. When you touch your face this way, you activate cranial nerves that are wired directly into your facial muscles and your emotional processing centers. The touch signals safety. It tells your nervous system that you are being cared for, that gentle hands are here to comfort you, even if those hands are your own. This can trigger what is called a facial relaxation cascade, where the muscles of your face begin to soften, and as they soften, they send feedback to your brain that you are relaxing, that you are safe, that you can let go of the tension you have been holding. Your face is deeply connected to your emotional state. When you soften your face, you soften your feelings too. There is a way to hug yourself that actually triggers the release of oxytocin, the same hormone that floods your system when someone else holds you. Cross your arms over your chest, placing each hand on the opposite shoulder or upper arm. Squeeze gently. Hold yourself the way you would hold someone you love. This is called a self-hug, and it is not just symbolic. It is physiological. Your body does not fully distinguish between being held by someone else and holding yourself with intention and care. The pressure, the warmth, the encircling gesture, all of these signal to your nervous system that you are safe, that you are loved, that you are not alone. Oxytocin begins to flow. Your heart rate slows. Anxiety decreases. You are giving yourself the comfort you need, offering yourself the tenderness that you might be waiting for someone else to provide, and discovering that you have had the power to soothe yourself all along. If you can step outside and find a place where there is grass or dirt or sand, and if you can take off your shoes and socks and place your bare feet directly on the earth, you are doing something that people have done for all of human history, but that many of us have lost in the modern world. This is called earthing or grounding, and it is based on the fact that the earth carries a negative electrical charge, and your body, especially when you are stressed, tends to accumulate positive charges, free radicals that contribute to inflammation and emotional dysregulation. When your bare skin touches the ground, electrons flow from the earth into your body, neutralizing those positive charges, bringing your electrical state back into balance. This is not mystical. It is physics. It is chemistry. And the effect is real. Your nervous system calms. Your inflammation decreases. You feel more centered, more connected, more held by something larger than yourself. Walking barefoot on grass, feeling the cool blades tickle the soles of your feet, feeling the give of the soil beneath you, the slight unevenness of the ground, all of this provides sensory input that your nervous system craves. Modern life is flat and smooth and predictable. You walk on floors and sidewalks and carpets, surfaces that do not change, that do not ask anything of your body. But your feet were designed to walk on varied terrain, to adjust constantly, to receive information from the ground about where you are and how to balance and how to move. When you give your feet this experience, when you let them touch the earth and feel its texture and temperature and variability, you are feeding your nervous system the kind of input it needs to feel grounded and stable and present. You are reminding your body that you are part of the natural world, that you belong here, that the earth is holding you up and will continue to hold you up as long as you are walking on it. The reduction in inflammation that comes from grounding is particularly important because inflammation is not just a physical problem. It is deeply connected to stress and emotion. Chronic stress creates chronic inflammation, and chronic inflammation makes it harder for your nervous system to regulate itself, makes you more reactive, more irritable, more prone to anxiety and depression. When you ground yourself, when you connect your body directly to the earth and let those electrons flow into you, you are breaking this cycle. You are giving your body a chance to heal, to reduce the inflammatory load, to return to a state where it can function the way it was designed to, where it can feel emotions without being overwhelmed by them, where it can respond to stress without being consumed by it. All of these practices, petting an animal, sinking into a warm bath, running your wrists under cold water, holding ice, massaging your feet or your earlobes, placing your hands on your face, hugging yourself, walking barefoot on the earth, all of these are ways of using physical sensation to regulate your emotional state. They work because your body and your emotions are not separate. They are woven together, constantly communicating, constantly influencing each other. When you change what is happening in your body, you change what is happening in your mind and your heart. When you offer your body comfort, your emotions receive that comfort too. When you ground your body in physical sensation, your emotions become less overwhelming, less likely to sweep you away. And the beauty of all of these practices is that they are simple and accessible and immediate. You do not need permission or training or special equipment. You do not need to wait until you feel better to do them. You can do them right now, right in the middle of whatever you are feeling, and they will help. They will not fix everything. They will not erase the complexity of your emotional life or solve the problems you are facing. But they will give you relief. They will give you a way to come back to your body, to care for yourself, to remember that you are not just a mind spinning with thoughts and feelings, but a physical being with needs and the capacity to meet those needs through simple, kind, deliberate touch and attention. You are allowed to comfort yourself. You are allowed to reach for the tools that help. You are allowed to be gentle with your own tender, feeling, resilient body. There are smells that can change the way you feel, smells that reach into your brain and shift the rhythm of your thoughts, that slow down the racing and soften the edges and create space for something calmer to emerge. Lavender is one of these smells. When you breathe in the scent of lavender, whether from a fresh stem or a dried sachet or a drop of essential oil on your wrist, molecules from the plant travel through your nose and into your olfactory system, and from there they send signals directly to your brain. These signals have a specific effect. They slow down your brain waves, shifting them from the fast, anxious beta waves of stress into the slower, more peaceful alpha and theta waves of relaxation. This is not just a pleasant sensation. It is a measurable change in your neural activity, a dimming of the alarms, a quieting of the constant vigilance that exhaustion brings. Lavender has been used for centuries, passed down through generations who did not have scientific instruments but who knew from experience that this purple flower with its sharp, clean scent could ease worry and invite sleep and make the world feel a little less harsh. Chamomile works in a similar way, but it moves through your body differently. You can breathe its scent, sweet and apple-like, and feel the calming effect that aromatherapy brings, but you can also drink it as a tea, letting the warm liquid carry the plant's compounds down into your stomach. And this matters because your gut and your brain are connected in ways that science is only beginning to fully understand. There is an axis, a two-way highway of communication between your digestive system and your emotional centers, and what happens in your gut influences what you feel in your mind. Chamomile soothes this gut-brain emotional axis. It calms inflammation in your intestines. It eases the discomfort that stress creates in your belly. And as your gut settles, your emotions settle too, because the two are never truly separate. They are always speaking to each other, always influencing each other, always working together to create the overall state of your being. When you drink chamomile tea, when you let it steep until the water turns golden and fragrant, you are ingesting compounds that bind to GABA receptors in your brain. GABA is a neurotransmitter, a chemical messenger that tells your neurons to slow down, to stop firing so frantically, to let go of the urgency and the panic. It is the brain's natural tranquilizer, and chamomile mimics its effects in a mild, gentle way. This is why a cup of chamomile before bed can help you sleep, why it can ease the jittery feeling that comes with anxiety, why it has been used for so long as a remedy for frayed nerves and restless minds. You are not numbing yourself. You are not escaping. You are simply giving your brain a little help in doing what it already knows how to do, which is to find calm, to find rest, to find the off switch for the constant hum of worry. Rose essential oil, distilled from the petals of roses, carries a scent that is rich and complex, sweet but also slightly spicy, layered with notes that unfold slowly as you breathe it in. This scent travels through pathways in your brain that connect smell directly to emotion, bypassing the thinking, analytical parts of your mind and going straight to the limbic system, the ancient emotional center. And when rose oil reaches these pathways, it has a measurable effect on your cardiovascular system. Your blood pressure begins to lower. Your heart rate steadies. The physical markers of stress decrease, not because you have talked yourself into feeling better, but because the scent itself is working on your body at a level deeper than thought, deeper than words, in the place where emotion and physiology meet and merge. Peppermint is sharp and bright, a scent that wakes you up and clears the fog. When you breathe it in, it opens pathways in your sinuses, allowing air to flow more freely, and this physical opening creates a sense of emotional opening too. It is as if the mint is clearing blockages not just in your nose but in your ability to feel, to process, to let things move through you instead of getting stuck. The connection between your sinuses and your brain is more direct than you might think. The olfactory nerve runs right up into your brain, and when the pathways are clear, when air and scent can flow freely, it affects how you think and feel. Peppermint gives you clarity. It gives you the sense that you can breathe, that there is space, that you are not trapped or suffocated by your circumstances. Vanilla is one of the most universally loved scents, and this is not an accident. The aroma of vanilla activates your olfactory bulb, the part of your brain that first processes smell, and it does so in a way that signals safety and peace. Vanilla is sweet and warm and associated with comfort foods, with things that are nurturing and satisfying and safe to consume. Your brain has learned over the course of your life that vanilla means goodness, means treats, means being cared for, and so when you smell it now, even without eating anything, your nervous system receives that message. It tells you that you are in a place where sweet things exist, where pleasure is possible, where there is no immediate danger. Vanilla is like a lullaby for your limbic system, a gentle reassurance that wraps around you and whispers that everything is going to be okay. Basil is not just a culinary herb. When you make tea from its leaves, when you steep them in hot water and drink the slightly spicy, slightly sweet liquid, you are ingesting compounds that modulate serotonin pathways in your brain. Serotonin is the neurotransmitter most associated with mood stability, with the ability to feel okay even when circumstances are challenging, with resilience in the face of stress. When your serotonin levels are balanced, you feel more even, less prone to dramatic swings, more able to maintain equilibrium. Basil tea supports this balance. It does not force your mood in one direction or another. It simply helps your brain maintain the steady flow of serotonin that allows you to navigate your emotional landscape without being thrown off course by every small disturbance. Lemon balm, a member of the mint family with leaves that smell faintly of citrus, contains compounds that enhance the flow of GABA in your brain. GABA, as you know, is the neurotransmitter that calms neural activity, that puts the brakes on the constant firing of anxious thoughts. Lemon balm extract helps GABA do its job more effectively, and this is particularly useful for persistent worry loops, those thoughts that circle around and around in your mind, repeating the same concerns over and over without resolution. When you take lemon balm, whether as a tea or a tincture or a capsule, you are giving your brain support in breaking those loops, in allowing the thoughts to slow down and eventually stop their repetitive pattern. You are creating the neurochemical conditions for worry to ease, for your mind to find a different track, for peace to have a chance to emerge. Of all the senses, smell is the most directly connected to memory and emotion. When you encounter a scent that you have smelled before, especially one tied to a significant moment or period in your life, the memory and the emotion come flooding back faster than they would from a photograph or a song or any other trigger. This is because the olfactory system is wired directly into the amygdala and the hippocampus, the parts of the brain that process emotion and store memories. There is no intermediary step. The scent goes straight to the source. This is why the smell of baking bread might instantly transport you to your grandmother's kitchen, why a certain perfume might bring back the feeling of being young and in love, why the scent of rain on hot pavement might fill you with a longing you cannot quite name. Scents bypass your defenses. They reach into the places where you store your most precious and most painful moments, and they bring them back not as abstract ideas but as felt experiences, as emotions that wash over you with all the intensity of the original moment. And beneath all of this, beneath the scents you breathe and the teas you drink and the oils you apply to your skin, there is another system at work, one that is often overlooked but that has profound effects on how you feel. Your gut microbiome, the trillions of bacteria and other microorganisms that live in your digestive system, influences 90% of the serotonin in your body. Most people think of serotonin as a brain chemical, and it is, but the vast majority of it is actually produced in your gut. The bacteria in your intestines help manufacture it. They send signals that regulate its production and release. And this means that the health of your gut directly affects the stability of your mood. When your microbiome is balanced, when you are feeding it the foods it needs to thrive, when you are not overwhelming it with stress or antibiotics or processed foods that kill off beneficial bacteria, your mood is more stable. You feel more resilient. You are better able to weather emotional storms. But when your gut is out of balance, when the ecosystem is disrupted, your serotonin production suffers, and you feel it in your mind, in your emotions, in your ability to cope with the ordinary challenges of being alive. This connection between digestion and mood is ancient and fundamental. Your gut is sometimes called your second brain because it contains so many nerve cells, because it produces so many neurotransmitters, because it is constantly sending information up to your actual brain about the state of your body and your environment. What you eat matters. How you eat matters. The stress you carry affects your digestion, and your digestion affects your stress, in a feedback loop that can spiral in either direction. When you take care of your gut, when you eat foods that nourish the beneficial bacteria, when you give your digestive system time to rest and repair, you are taking care of your emotional health too. You are supporting the production of the very chemicals that allow you to feel okay, to feel stable, to feel like yourself. All of these scents and teas and extracts, lavender and chamomile and rose and peppermint and vanilla and basil and lemon balm, all of these are tools that work with your body's natural systems to create calm and balance and resilience. They are not magic, but they are powerful. They work on the level of neurochemistry, of scent-emotion pathways, of gut-brain communication. They work because your body is a system, a complex and interconnected network where every part influences every other part, where a scent can change your brain waves, where a cup of tea can ease anxiety, where the bacteria in your gut can determine whether you wake up feeling hopeful or heavy. And knowing this, knowing that you have access to these tools, that you can surround yourself with scents that calm you, that you can drink teas that support your nervous system, that you can feed your gut the foods that help it produce the neurotransmitters you need, this knowledge is empowering. It means you are not helpless in the face of your emotions. It means you have options, simple and natural options that have been used for centuries, that have been tested by generations, that work not by overriding your body's wisdom but by supporting it, by giving it what it needs to do what it already knows how to do, which is to heal, to balance, to find its way back to calm and center and the quiet strength that has always been there, waiting beneath the surface, ready to rise when you create the conditions that allow it to emerge. There are moments when your mind drifts away from what is right in front of you, When you find yourself staring out a window or at a wall and not really seeing it because you are somewhere else entirely, walking through a memory or imagining a conversation or simply floating in the space between thoughts. This is called daydreaming, and for a long time people thought it was a waste of time, a distraction, something to be corrected or stopped. But it turns out that daydreaming is not just acceptable. It is necessary. When you allow your mind to wander, when you stop trying to control and direct every thought and instead let yourself drift, your anxiety levels drop. The constant pressure to focus, to produce, to stay on task, it all releases for a moment, and your nervous system gets a chance to rest. At the same time, your creativity increases. In the unfocused, meandering state of daydreaming, your brain makes connections it would not make otherwise. It pulls together ideas from different areas, finds patterns you had not noticed, solves problems that seemed unsolvable when you were trying too hard. Daydreaming is your mind's way of taking care of itself, of processing and integrating and creating space for new things to emerge. When you learn something new, when you master a skill or understand a concept that was previously mysterious to you, your brain releases dopamine. Dopamine is often called the pleasure hormone, though it is more accurately the hormone of reward and motivation. It creates that feeling of satisfaction, of accomplishment, of yes, I did it, I got it, I understand. This is why learning can be so addictive in the best possible way. Each small victory, each moment of understanding gives you a little hit of dopamine, and that dopamine makes you want to keep going, to learn more, to push a little further. It creates a positive feedback loop where learning feels good, and because it feels good, you want to do more of it, and the more you do, the better you feel. This is one of the reasons why engaging with new things, even small things like learning a new word or trying a recipe you have never made before or figuring out how to use a feature on your phone, can lift your mood. You are not just passing time. You are giving your brain the reward it craves, the signal that you are growing, that you are capable, that you are moving forward. If you close your eyes and imagine a place where you feel completely safe, a place that might be real or might be purely in your imagination, and if you spend time in that visualization, really seeing it and feeling it and letting yourself be there in your mind, you are doing something powerful to your brain. You are activating the same neural pathways that would be activated if you were actually in that safe place. And here is what matters. Your brain begins to rewire itself based on this repeated experience. The fear pathways, the neural circuits that fire when you are anxious or threatened, they start to weaken. The safety pathways, the circuits associated with calm and security, they start to strengthen. Your brain is plastic, which means it can change, and it changes based on what you practice, based on where you direct your attention. When you practice visualizing safety, when you spend time in your mind in places where nothing can hurt you, you are literally teaching your brain that safety is possible, that it is real, that it is something you can access even when the external world feels uncertain or dangerous. There is a practice called progressive muscle relaxation, and it involves moving through your body systematically, tensing and then releasing each muscle group. You might start with your feet, squeezing them tight for a few seconds and then letting them go soft. Then your calves. Then your thighs. Your belly. Your hands. Your shoulders. Your face. As you move through this process, you become aware of how much tension you are holding, tension you did not even know was there because it has become so familiar, so constant, that it feels normal. But when you release it, when you let each muscle soften and relax, you realize how much lighter you can feel, how much easier it is to breathe, how much space opens up inside you. This physical release is also an emotional release, because emotions are not just mental experiences. They are stored in your body, in the tightness of your jaw and the hunching of your shoulders and the clenching of your stomach. When you release the physical tension, you release some of the emotional burden too. The two are inseparable, and taking care of one always means taking care of the other. Gentle yoga, the kind that is slow and mindful and focused more on stretching and breathing than on strength or flexibility, has been shown to increase levels of GABA in the brain. GABA, that neurotransmitter that acts as your brain's natural tranquilizer, increases when you move your body in this slow, intentional way. The combination of gentle movement, deep breathing, and present moment awareness creates the perfect conditions for your nervous system to shift out of fight or flight and into rest and digest. Yoga is not about contorting yourself into impressive shapes. It is about creating a conversation between your body and your mind, about listening to what you need, about moving in ways that feel good and supportive rather than punishing or stressful. When you practice gentle yoga, you are teaching your body that it is safe to relax, that it is okay to soften, that strength does not always mean tension, and that sometimes the strongest thing you can do is let go. There is a therapeutic technique called eye movement desensitization, and it works by having you move your eyes back and forth, left to right, while thinking about something that causes you distress. This bilateral eye movement activates both hemispheres of your brain, and this bilateral activation helps process traumatic or distressing memories in a way that reduces their emotional charge. The memory does not disappear, but it becomes less overwhelming, less likely to hijack your nervous system and send you into panic or shutdown. The left and right hemispheres of your brain have different functions, different ways of processing information, and when they work together in this synchronized way, they can integrate experiences that have been fragmented by trauma or stress. The result is a sense of calm, a feeling that you can think about difficult things without being consumed by them, that you can remember without reliving, that the past can be part of your story without controlling your present. A similar technique called bilateral tapping involves tapping alternately on each side of your body, perhaps on your knees or your shoulders or your thighs, creating a rhythm that goes back and forth. This bilateral stimulation, like the eye movement, helps balance the two hemispheres of your brain and can reprogram emotional responses that have become stuck or automatic. When you encounter a trigger, something that normally sends you into anxiety or anger or shutdown, the bilateral tapping can help you stay present and grounded instead of getting swept away by the old pattern. You are essentially teaching your brain a new response, showing it that there is another option, that you do not have to react the way you always have, that change is possible even for responses that feel deeply ingrained and automatic. There is a practice called autogenic training, and it involves repeating certain phrases to yourself that describe physical sensations of relaxation. You might say, "My arms are heavy," and as you say it, you imagine your arms becoming heavy, sinking into whatever surface they are resting on, letting go of all effort. You might say, "My heartbeat is calm and steady," and as you say it, you focus on your heart and imagine it beating in a slow, regular rhythm. These phrases induce a state of deep relaxation because your body responds to the suggestions. Your nervous system hears the words and begins to create the reality they describe. Your arms do become heavy. Your heartbeat does steady. This is not hypnosis in the traditional sense, but it is a way of using language and imagination to influence your physiological state, to guide your body into the calm that you are describing with your words. If you can sit in front of a mirror and look at yourself, really look, not to judge or criticize but simply to see, you are engaging in a practice that can build self-acceptance and soften the harsh feelings you carry toward yourself. This is called mirror exposure therapy, and it is often used to help people with body image issues, but it can be valuable for anyone who struggles with self-criticism or shame. When you look at yourself with curiosity and kindness instead of judgment, when you practice seeing yourself the way you might see a dear friend or a small child, something begins to shift. The harsh inner voice that tells you that you are not good enough, that picks apart your appearance and your choices and your worth, that voice begins to quiet down. It does not disappear all at once, but it loses some of its power. You start to see yourself as a whole person, complex and imperfect and worthy of compassion, and that seeing changes how you feel about yourself from the inside. Mirror gazing can also foster what is called emotional self-recognition. When you look into your own eyes in a mirror for an extended period, not glancing away or distracting yourself but really holding your own gaze, you begin to see and feel your own emotions more clearly. You see the sadness or the fear or the hope that you have been carrying, and you recognize it as yours. This recognition is a form of self-compassion. It is saying, yes, this is what I am feeling. This is real. This is valid. And when you can see and name and accept your own emotions in this way, the volume of your inner critic naturally decreases. It is harder to be cruel to yourself when you are looking yourself in the eye, when you are acknowledging your own humanity, when you are practicing the kind of gentle, steady attention that you would offer to anyone you truly cared about. All of these practices, daydreaming and learning and visualization, progressive muscle relaxation and gentle yoga, eye movement and bilateral tapping, autogenic training and mirror work, all of these are ways of working with your mind and body together to create change. They are not about forcing yourself to feel differently or pretending that everything is fine when it is not. They are about creating conditions, about making small shifts in your attention or your movement or your self-perception that allow something new to emerge. They are about recognizing that you have agency, that you can influence your own experience, that you are not trapped in old patterns but can, with practice and patience and kindness toward yourself, create new ones. The brain is plastic. The nervous system is adaptable. The body is resilient. These are not just hopeful sayings. They are facts, proven over and over again by research and by the lived experience of people who have done this work, who have practiced these techniques, who have discovered that change is possible even when it seemed impossible, that healing can happen even after years or decades of suffering, that you can learn to be gentler with yourself, to feel safer in your own skin, to meet your emotions with curiosity instead of fear. And the most important thing to remember is that none of these practices requires you to be perfect. You do not have to do them all. You do not have to do them every day. You do not have to get them right. You simply have to be willing to try, to experiment, to notice what helps and do more of that, to be patient with yourself when things do not work the way you hoped, to keep showing up for yourself with whatever energy and attention you have available in this moment. That is enough. That willingness, that small act of turning toward yourself with care, that is where everything begins. That is the seed from which all healing grows. There is something that happens when you take the feelings that are swirling inside your head, the thoughts that circle and repeat and grow heavier with each pass, and you write them down on paper. The act of putting words to what you feel, of forming sentences that capture even a small part of the complexity and confusion and pain, this act transfers some of the burden from your mind to the page. It is as if the paper agrees to hold some of the weight for you. The feelings do not disappear, but they become external, something you can look at from a slight distance rather than something you are drowning in. Journaling negative feelings is not about fixing them or solving them or making them go away. It is about acknowledgement, about giving them form and substance, about saying, this is real. This is what I am carrying. And in that acknowledgement, there is relief. The load lightens, not because the feelings have changed, but because you are no longer holding them entirely alone. The page is holding them with you, and that shared burden is always easier to bear than one carried in isolation and silence. When you eat, you can do it mindlessly, shoveling food into your mouth while your attention is somewhere else entirely, on a screen or a conversation or the endless list of things you need to do. Or you can eat mindfully, paying attention to each bite, noticing the texture and the temperature and the way the flavors unfold on your tongue. When you eat this way, when you savor, you anchor yourself in the present moment. You cannot be worrying about tomorrow or replaying yesterday when you are fully absorbed in the taste of something sweet or savory, in the crunch of a crisp vegetable or the smoothness of a ripe piece of fruit. Mindful eating is a form of meditation, a way of bringing yourself back to the here and now, to the simple, immediate experience of being alive and having a body that needs nourishment and is capable of experiencing pleasure. And in that present moment awareness, there is peace, the kind of peace that comes not from having all your problems solved, but from simply being here, tasting this, breathing now. When you cry, when tears spill down your face and your breath comes in gasps and your whole body shakes with the force of what you are feeling, you are not weak. You are not out of control. You are releasing. Tears contain stress hormones, cortisol and adrenaline and other chemicals that build up in your system when you are under pressure. Crying is your body's way of flushing these toxins out, of literally removing them from your bloodstream and expelling them through your tear ducts. This is why you often feel better after a good cry, why the world seems a little clearer and the weight a little lighter even though nothing external has changed. Your body has done what it needed to do. It has released the emotional tension that was trapped inside, and now there is space again, room to breathe, room to feel something other than the intensity that was overwhelming you just moments before. Crying is not a breakdown. It is a cleansing, a necessary and healthy part of being a feeling human being. Your face is not just a reflection of your emotions. It is also a creator of them. This is called the facial feedback hypothesis, and it means that the expressions you make with your face actually shape the emotions you feel. When you frown, when you pull your eyebrows together and turn the corners of your mouth down, you are sending signals to your brain that something is wrong, and your brain responds by deepening the feeling of sadness or frustration. When you smile, even if you do not feel particularly happy, the act of smiling sends signals that something positive is happening, and your mood begins to shift to match. This does not mean you should fake happiness or suppress genuine sadness. It means that you have more influence over your emotional state than you might realize, that the way you hold your face, the expressions you practice, they feed back into your internal experience and shape it in subtle but real ways. When you speak to someone, when you open your mouth and let words flow out, your tone of voice carries information that reaches the other person before the meaning of your words does. This is emotional contagion through sound. Someone can hear the stress in your voice, the warmth, the fear, the joy, and they begin to feel it themselves before they have even processed what you are saying. The melody of speech, the pitch and rhythm and timbre, these elements communicate emotion directly from one nervous system to another. This is why a calm, steady voice can soothe someone who is agitated, why a harsh tone can escalate a conflict even when the words themselves are neutral, why the way you speak to yourself in your own mind, the tone you use in your internal dialogue, matters so much. You are always spreading emotional contagion, to others and to yourself, through the sound of your voice. There is something called the peak end rule, and it explains how you remember emotional experiences. You do not remember them as an average of all the moments. You remember them based on two things: the most intense moment, the peak, and the final moment, the end. This means that the way something ends has enormous power over how you will feel about it in retrospect. A difficult experience that ends on a note of resolution or comfort or connection will be remembered more positively than the same experience ending in frustration or loneliness. This is why endings matter so much, why it is worth paying attention to how you close chapters, how you say goodbye, how you finish tasks or conversations or relationships. You are not just ending something. You are shaping the memory of it, determining how it will live in your mind for all the years to come. The way your emotions were handled when you were a child, the way your parents or caregivers responded when you were sad or scared or angry, this creates patterns that persist for decades. This is called childhood emotion coaching, and research shows that children whose emotions were acknowledged and validated, who were taught that feelings are okay and manageable, who were given tools to cope and comfort, these children grow up to be adults with greater stress tolerance. They are better able to regulate themselves, to bounce back from difficulty, to maintain relationships even when things get hard. The opposite is also true. Children whose emotions were dismissed or punished or ignored often struggle as adults, not because there is something wrong with them, but because they never learned that their feelings are valid, that they have the right and the ability to take care of their own emotional needs. But even if you did not receive good emotion coaching as a child, even if you are still learning these skills as an adult, it is not too late. The brain is plastic. New patterns can be formed. You can learn to parent yourself in the ways you needed to be parented, to offer yourself the validation and comfort and guidance that you did not receive, and in doing so, you can change your relationship with your own emotions at any age. The way you hold your body influences the way you feel. When you stand tall, shoulders back, chest open, hands on your hips or raised above your head, when you take up space with your body, you are doing what researchers call a power pose. And this physical position actually changes your hormone levels. It increases testosterone, which is associated with confidence and assertiveness, and it decreases cortisol, which is associated with stress. The change happens quickly, within just a couple of minutes of holding the pose. You do not have to believe it will work. You do not have to feel confident before you do it. You simply have to stand in that position and let your body chemistry respond to the physical cue you are giving it. Your body and your mind are in constant conversation, and sometimes the easiest way to change how you feel is to change how you are standing, to use your physical posture to send a message to your brain about the kind of person you are being in this moment. When you engage in activities that soothe your emotions, whether that is petting an animal or listening to soft music or wrapping yourself in a warm blanket, you are activating your parasympathetic nervous system. This is the system responsible for rest and recovery, for peace and contentment, for the state of being where your body can heal and your mind can relax. The parasympathetic system is the opposite of the fight or flight response. It is the brake pedal, the off switch, the gentle hand that says, you can stop running now. You can stop defending. You are safe. And when this system is activated, everything in your body shifts. Your heart rate slows. Your digestion improves. Your immune system functions better. Your muscles release their tension. You feel, perhaps for the first time in hours or days or longer, that you can simply be, that you do not have to do anything or prove anything or protect yourself from anything. You can just exist, held by the quiet rhythm of your own calm breathing. And when you experience or when you encounter something so vast or beautiful or unexpected that it stops you in your tracks and makes you forget yourself for a moment, your stress shrinks. This is not metaphorical. Your perceived stress, the subjective feeling of being overwhelmed or burdened, it actually decreases when you focus your attention on something or inspiring. This could be a sunset or a mountain range or a piece of music or an act of extraordinary kindness. It could be anything that reminds you that you are part of something much larger than your individual concerns and worries. Or restores emotional balance by giving you perspective, by lifting you out of the narrow focus on your own problems and placing you in a context where those problems, while still real, are also small compared to the vastness and mystery and beauty of the world. Or does not solve your problems, but it changes your relationship to them. It reminds you that there is more to life than what is troubling you right now, that wonder and beauty and meaning still exist, that you are capable of feeling something other than stress, that your emotional range includes not just fear and sadness and anger but also amazement and gratitude and joy. All of these facts, everything you have heard about emotions and feelings and the body and the brain, they all point to the same fundamental truth. You are not helpless. You are not at the mercy of your emotions. You are not broken or wrong or too sensitive or beyond help. You are a complex, adaptive, resilient being with countless tools at your disposal, tools that are simple and accessible and effective, tools that work with your body's natural wisdom rather than against it. You can breathe. You can move. You can touch. You can smell. You can taste. You can listen. You can look. You can write. You can cry. You can smile. You can stand tall. You can wrap yourself in softness. You can seek out beauty. You can connect with others. You can turn toward yourself with kindness. Every emotion you feel, no matter how uncomfortable or overwhelming, is temporary. It is a wave that lasts 6 seconds in its pure chemical form, and even the lingering psychological experience of it will eventually pass if you let it move through you instead of trying to hold it or push it away. Your emotions are not your enemies. They are messengers, teachers, guides pointing you toward what matters, what needs attention, what requires care. And you, with all your vulnerability and strength, with all your tender feelings and fierce resilience, you have the capacity to meet those emotions with curiosity and compassion, to work with them instead of against them, to find your way back to balance and peace over and over again, no matter how many times you lose your way. This is the gift of being human, of having a nervous system that can regulate itself, a body that knows how to heal, a mind that can learn and grow and change. This is the gift of knowing that relief is always possible, that comfort is always within reach, that you are never truly alone because you carry within yourself everything you need to take care of your own precious, feeling, endlessly resilient heart. And so you can rest now, knowing that you are okay, that you have always been okay, that beneath all the noise and worry and stress, there is a deep, unshakable calm that has been there all along, waiting patiently for you to remember it, to return to it, to let it hold you the way it has always been holding you, from your very first breath to this moment and every moment still to come.